once more into the depths. When I went down to lower wards last night, I knew what I wanted to find, but I wasn't sure where to look. Now I know where to look, but I have multiple priorities to consider. It'd be nice if I could prove Sosuke's innocence. It won't be easy, given that they think he killed a cop. But it'd keep me on the Ikaria's good side. That'd be nice. But what is essential is that I figure out what the hell happened after I left, and whether anyone found any trace that I was ever there. Everything else is secondary. Sorry, guess I should have asked before I decided we'd be sharing a cab. I don't mind. But I am surprised. Did budget cuts take away your shiny patrol car? Patrol cars are shared, counselor. Any cop can step into any other cop's car, sync their credentials, and drive. Convenient. Shame you can't personalize. Yeah, no more dice in the mirror. Is that why we were in a cab then? Personal taste? Police cars were full of bugs. Thought you might appreciate the privacy. Auto cabs are full of bugs too. True, but there are ways around them. Are there? I didn't know that. Yeah, plenty. Can be as easy as flashing a police badge. Something you wanted to discuss in private, Detective? I was asked to get in contact with you and pass along a message. A secret admirer? Certain interested parties and all that. You know how it is. I'm not sure I do. Does this have something to do with my client's business affiliations? There would be a lot more blustering if I were to repeat it verbatim, so paraphrase. Focus on getting the best outcome for your client. More of a reminder of what my job description is than a warning. And don't broaden the scope of your investigation any more than strictly necessary. Wow. I always appreciate kind words of advice. But Detective London, that almost makes it sound like you're on the take. That's the city, Tiger. If you don't take a little, they'll bury you. Alive, if need be. Oh, they will? How conspiratorial. It's not a joke, Morgan. Do they threaten your wife with Tommy guns if you don't comply? It's gotten more sophisticated than that. Well, maybe sophisticated isn't the right word. Complicated might be more accurate, or you could just call it a quagmire. Or even a shitstorm. If you can't get along to go along, even other cops don't trust you. You'll end up shot in the back, friendly fire, a tragic newspaper clipping. You're exaggerating. You're telling me the entire police force is corrupt? Corruption would be one thing. You could, in theory, root it out. But above and below the canopy, it's all intertwined, every tree stabilizing every other tree. What do they call that? Not parasitism. Commensalism. There you go. The state pays criminal informants to rat on their peers and lets them keep their positions in exchange. Orcas buy judges and politicians to keep their men out of prison. Status quo. Balancing act. A cycle. Stable as any gyroscope. Forgive me if I find that hard to believe. Crime's at an all-time low. That's not a contradiction. People hate crime, but what gets people killed is chaos, and the opposite of organized crime is... So everyone's playing nice with each other. Even Detective Reyes. She's yeah. What about the man they think my client killed? Did he play nice? He was a special case. You got the brief. You recognize his last name? It's a big city. I don't put too much stock into last names. You'll need to break that habit if you continue to work in the underworld. Sosuke said something similar. Tariq Chopin, only son of Miguel and Dominique Chopin. The power couple. I hope the son of two of our city's most prominent council members be working as a police officer. You want the full story? Always. So who was this Chopin, really? An idealist. Wrong line of work, then. You're only half right. When he entered the academy, everyone assumed it was a political move. First step in his career to becoming a senator or whatever. Maybe it was, but anyone who met the guy could tell you he would have made a lousy politician. You're saying he was honest? Wouldn't tell a lie if his life depended on it. Guy couldn't do small talk, much less make friends. Talking about cleaning up the city, cleaning up the police, cleaning up everything. If he was so unpopular, why was he kept on? No one on the force wanted to risk insulting his parents by firing him. Just got passed around from department to department, detail to detail. He did a lot of community outreach. Community outreach? What, like bake sales? Like giving talks at schools about saying no to drugs until you turn 21. Woof. Must have really loved his job to put up with that. Or he just wanted to prove a point that bad. Don't you try to save lower wards patrols for the more seasoned, better armed officers? We do, yeah. How do you know that? By going to the lower wards looking at the cops you sent there, of course. I read about it in Watch magazine last month. Huh. If Chopin was the son of such powerful men, why'd he end up in the lower wards last night? That? I don't know. You don't know? By all accounts, he and his partner should have been at least 2 patrols removed from that area. Must have been following up on some other lead. His partner, who's that? The hero who finally arrested the Hound of Icaria, that's who. I'll have to send him a congratulatory fruit basket. Huey Rogers. Pretty bare-bones record, but maybe that'll just add to his legend. What legend? Taking your client alive. Whacked him on the head with a sidearm, knocked him out cold. Guess it is a small miracle that Sosuke wasn't just shot dead if they thought he killed a cop. Maybe, but it wasn't pure luck. Only thing that did stick out to me in Rogers' record was his shooting score. 41. Out of 100. You need 40 to pass. I think someone took pity on him when tallying up his score. So he only whacked Sosuke on the head because he was too bad of a shot to avenge his partner? At least Rogers knows his weaknesses. I keep hearing that name, the Hound of Icaria. I cringe every time. No one actually calls him that, right? Sorry, but I've definitely heard that name circulating around organized crime before. Must be one hell of a bodyguard to ever earn a nickname for it. He's a bodyguard? Then yeah, must be pretty good. Of course, hound dogs are known for other things besides guarding. Sorry, that was, crude. Oh, don't be sorry. I don't even get enough of the joke to be offended. Okay, that all makes for some interesting food for thought. But, Detective London, if you are working for the Blue Bloods... I never said I worked for the Blue Bloods. It's more of a gig worker type thing, Tiger. I'm friends with everybody. If you are working for the mob in general, then... how do I know you're even taking me to the right place and not to... Whoa. I may pass a message along here and there, but I'm not... Damn. Hell, no one else is either. Whatever you're imagining, it's not that exciting, I promise. Not that exciting. Sounds about right. Is it like this in every city? Handshakes and gentlemen's agreements behind closed doors? You disillusioned? The state has a great deal of power, Detective London. It makes countless rules. Now, I'm a big girl. I know that those rules don't apply to people equally. And I understand the value of criminal informants and the possible conflicts of interest that arise in trying to keep them around. What I don't get is why the state has all this strength, and it won't use it to just wipe the underworld off the map. That's pretty cold logic. I'd expect my state to be far colder. Hey, you ever heard this one? A politician, a CEO, and a mob boss were sitting at a round table with a gun in the middle. Who are you betting on? Politicians are limp-wristed when it comes to their jobs, but they act faster than anyone when it comes to protecting their neck. They grabbed for the gun fast and wouldn't stop pulling the trigger till it clicked. Not a bad pick. We'll make a patriot of you yet, Tiger. But it's a trick question, of course. Rock, paper, scissors has no trump card. The politician can bring the heavy arm of the law down into the mob boss if he doesn't shoot the CEO for him. The mob boss can have the CEO's family killed if he doesn't blow away the politician first. And the CEO can turbocharge the campaign of whomever the politician's opponent is if he refuses to miss the mob boss. Yeah, seems like you could make the argument to go in the other direction, too. You could. So the point the riddle's meant to teach is this. Whoever convinces someone else to pull the trigger comes out on top. Funny. So in the parable you've set up, the gun on the table, that's the police? A blameless tool with no will of its own? Yeah. Though it was older men than I who set it up. Didn't realize this country's police were so powerless. However do you manage? We used to have a partner that helped us out, a tiebreaker, because all three of those powerful men would be screwed if a journalist told the world they were meeting together. I've got good news for you, Detective. Journalists still exist. I could introduce you to one. You could even take a photograph. Oh, I know they're not extinct. People will always write. It's just that no one wants to pay them to. Sorry, didn't mean to talk so much. Maybe it's nerves coming back down here. What happened the last time you visited? Something up? Didn't put you to sleep, did I? No. Actually, your 3-seat table reminded me of an even older thought experiment. If God is omnipotent, why does he allow the existence of the devil? Even I know that one. To preserve free will or whatever, right? Yeah, that's the answer most people give. But now I'm wondering if it isn't a rock, paper, scissors deadlock like the one you just described. God lets the devil be so he'll terrify man, and man will always need God's born protection. And God needs man's faith, which can't be compelled. Of course, most people would also say that God's long dead in the 21st century, but we're still around. So that leaves the devil in an awfully strong position, doesn't it? You always picture 3 men in that room, don't you? Huh? Yeah. I guess I do. Sorry. Do 55 feminist rosaries for your penance. Detective London. We're definitely not alone down here. When you reassured your partner that we'd have company, I didn't think you were including blue bloods. Ah. You know, I knew I'd forgotten to mention. What? Well, then she's a liar, babe. Because I never said that. No, I never said that. Oh, come on, babe. That's what she's like. She likes for fun. Because that's what I call you, babe. It's a pet name. You like it. No, don't hang up. Don't hang up, baby. Don't hang up. Of course I do. We gotta get to work, hon. I'll have to call you back, babe. Something just came up. London, what is this? London, who is this? Counselor Morgan, this is Adelaide Hahn. She is, well, she is a blue blood. Hey, I'm a perfectly legitimate career woman. You're speaking to a Scientist Security Site Manager. If you need anything, miss, please don't hesitate to reach out. A real business card. It even has a watermark. I'm not familiar with Scientists. We're a private security and investigating firm. We provide bouncers, armed escorts, we catch cheating partners, find runaway debtors, run paternity tests, that kind of stuff. Sorry, but have we met somewhere? No, it can't be. I'd never forget a beauty like you. She's the Hound's lawyer, hon. Seriously? She works for those copper-headed scumbags. So we're mortal enemies. That sucks. Another life, then, eh? But I'll still play nice, if you will. Right. So you're a private security and you're currently securing this crime scene? Yeah, what's with the tone? What you're hearing is genuine bewilderment. London, why are the police letting blue bloods contaminating the crime scene where a cop died? Come on, we don't have cooties. If this wasn't the location where a cop died, we'd have already turned full control over to them. What? The police contract out the security around crime scenes to private companies all the time. And around here, the private company best suited for the job happened to be Cyanus. Letting them conduct their own side investigations is a small concession to keep the peace. A small concession? They're probably in there destroying evidence as we speak. We have the arcs to preserve the crime scene. They could burn the building down and we'd still have a pristine copy. London Bridges is trying to save face. The police couldn't keep this crime scene off limits without our help, and he knows it. Gremlins would be smashing their shiny cameras and popping their expensive tires around the clock if we weren't here. Lower wards kids take out drones by tossing shoes at them for fun. Is that why you see shoes hanging off the wires? No, I don't know why that happens. It's just a thing teens have always done for fun. Mystery solved? Fine. Maybe the cops and the blue bloods are all consummate professionals who never even bicker. But what kind of impartiality can I expect coming here to defend an Icaria? Well, you might get some ugly looks from those with less chivalry, but no one's gonna get in your way. We know how defense attorneys operate. We know damn well how you usually win. No one's gonna do anything that'll let you worm the hound out of his life sentence on a technicality. You sure you wouldn't prefer that? To have him back out on the streets so you can take another shot at him? Oh, so flattery, that's how you flirt. What does that mean? You think we'd ever manage to gun down the Hound of Icaria in the street? Shank him in the holding cell? Blue Blood took him alive just fine the other day, didn't they? Yeah, and look what happened to them afterwards. So you won't tamper with the crime scene just because you want to make sure the state lobotomizes Sosuke for pentuple homicide? Yeah. I mean, we also literally get paid good money to do this kinds of jobs, so we have a reputation to maintain. Rate us 5 stars when you're done looking around, okay? I'll be sure to leave a glowing review. So this is the main entrance? Front door looks about as heavy as I remember, but it's unlocked. What's that? How was this door found? Chopin and Rogers were the first officers on the scene, responding to gunfire. Someone heard that? Good thing they cleaned up fast. Check the area, then enter through the front door. The door was definitely locked when I arrived, but I didn't lock it behind me when I left. I didn't have any keys. Admiring our handiwork, this is a Cyanus installation. Who else would Blue Bloods trust to secure Blue Blood buildings? How does it lock? You never used a key before? I want to know how lock functions. Does it lock behind you automatically? That's a good question. You looking to buy? 'Cause I could set you up. It is a good question, hon. Why don't you answer it? Yeah, this model locks behind you by default. You need a key to get in if someone doesn't unlock it for you from inside. A physical key? Physical keys can't be hacked or overridden by a police badge. Some people consider those useful features. Is that why the door's ajar? It looks like the lock's been destroyed. Was it found like this? Yeah, for as long as the arcs have been up. It definitely wasn't locked when me and Reyes arrived, which was around 10:20 p.m. Hang on, you and Reyes, what, were you the second officers on scene? That's right. We weren't far when the 10999 went out at 10:15. Long way from precinct 254, isn't it? We were in the area. Awkward. You want the tour then? Actually, I'd like to check out the alley first. You know the crime scene's on the 3rd floor, right? Yeah, but it has a window that opens to the alley, doesn't it? I just prefer to start from the bottom and work my way up sometimes. Sure, we can start there. Just be careful where you step if you like those boots at all. One problem with Blue Bloods and cost-rank security, I don't know who to blame for leaving their shit here. I'll give them moral high ground to whichever part of society learns to pick up after themselves first. I feel like I've heard stories about bombings out west the last few months, but I didn't know they'd all been attributed to one person, or that are now calling them the Witch of the West. There's no mention of victims, only data centers being targeted. But clearly this witch is hitting someone where it hurts if they've now got it. What really stands out here is that the federal investigators are getting involved. Most national security agencies were absorbed into the military police complex decades ago. That bureau survived, but it's a mere fraction of the size it used to be, and very different in its function. Their modern reputation is that of attack dogs, deployed by the Senate to make examples of political targets. I can't say I like the idea of them being out there hunting for serial offenders. This fire escape would lead right up to the crime scene, assuming it doesn't come crashing down once you step onto it. It's missing the ladder, though, connected to street level. You're violating fire code with this tetanus trap on. Building inspection's not my department. Besides, who'd want to climb up into a burning building? Firefighters. You're funny, Bridget. Even a copper firefighter wouldn't risk getting singed to save a lower ward's property from burning down. An ad could probably make the jump up there. Ads are heavy. If an android leaped onto that, the whole mess would probably come down on top of them. Yeah, modders are heavy too. Hey! Looks like the only way into the building is through the front door then. It was much darker last night than it is now, and I only took a quick peek. But even so, this looks like it's been moved, huh? Yes. Was trash picked up last night, perhaps? Checking the model number on the side, looks like dumpsters of this make haven't been picked up by the city in a decade. I didn't realize there was DRM on trash cans. Hey, it's a heavy model, tough to lift, even if its wheels weren't broken. And designed for containing industrial waste? How it ended up here in a residential district isn't that hard to puzzle out, is it? It was cheaper for the megs to dump their shit on us than it was to haul it to a landfill. Is that why I can see markings on the ground there, from leaks? Oh, you really are a tourist, aren't you? I've been in the lower wards before. But only at night, right? Rain's dirty down here, staining the ground wherever it falls. Acid rain, like from the history books? Not quite that bad, just smog combined with precipitation combined with the charms of the city to make dirty rain, like I said. Lower wards spring water. There's a shot named after it. Tequila and pickle juice. Ugh. So is the dumpster empty? Let's see. Hey, grab a glove if you're gonna. Yeah, it's mostly empty, except for a bunch of scrapmetal at the bottom. Explains why I can't get it to budge. Careful. If you get your toe trapped under there, don't look at me to help you just because I'm modded. Are you saying you couldn't budge it either? I could if a girl was cheering me on. Okay, London, thanks. Don't know what I was expecting. Fine, really. I'll just watch it so you don't. Let the lid slam. Sorry. Alright, I'm done back here. So I think I've seen everything That's right. I was standing here last night when... It was dark and foggy. The kid was too far off to make out my face. Weren't they? What is it, Tiger? Nothing. Thought I saw someone out of the corner of my eye, that's all. Yeah, around here maybe it wasn't unlisted. What are you... Those are real? Keep for themselves, obviously, but yeah, they're real. I've met some. They inform, sometimes of what they've seen. Never come in to testify, of course. You'd think they'd stand out dressing like that, but if their camouflage didn't work, they wouldn't be unlisted, right? What do you mean they keep to themselves? Don't they work with any of the gangs down here? Sorry, have I gotten your hopes up or something? Trust me, you've got a better chance of winning the lottery than running into one. Right, forget I asked. You ready to go inside? I think so, so long as... No, I'm not with anyone else, it's just me here. Because she's shrill, princess. And delusional, you know that. I'm sure she'll catch up. So you were saying this used to be an apartment building? Somewhere between that and a long-stay motel, yeah. Blue Bloods didn't deviate far from that model when they took over. They call rooms like these vaults, places to stash away a lover, witness, debtor when there's too much heat. You've gone through all of these vaults, I take it? Scientists helped us with that last night, yeah. Bringing around master keys, clearing out every possible hiding place. Didn't find a red-handed killer hiding anywhere, did you? Sorry, no. So is this the Blue Bloods' forte then? Securing people, places, and things? You could think of it that way. Guess I always assumed gangs made their money through drugs. Well, the Blue Bloods do a deal here and there. But narcotics has been a rich man's game ever since the CDCA rolled in. If you have the funds to ride the gray wave the way House Icaria does, you can make a killing. They've got the market cornered from black to gray to white to pure green profit. The Blue Bloods hate that they have to make do with all the scraps the Megs in the house don't bother producing en masse. Professional jealousy? How ugly. Why can't these underworld overlords just bury the hatchet, get together, and screw over the consumer like reasonable people do? They've tried, if you believe the rumors. About a year ago now, there was some kind of meeting, an olive branch from the golds to the blues. Apparently the Blue Bloods had a product that the Icaria wanted to distribute. The Icaria sell legal drugs now, though. And what kind of product could the Blue Bloods have that the Icaria couldn't manufacture? Not sure. Maybe that's why it went south so fast. Blood was spilled in less than an hour. The Icaria aren't the type to keep negotiating after being spat on like that. And so, the Blue Bloods remain firmly planted in their lower wards niche. They might not like having to take the low end, but they are filling a gap in the market. And that's every proper capitalist's calling, right? Besides, the workers certainly appreciate the protection down here. Workers hire Blue Bloods for protection, but all that stuff is legal so long as they're licensed, isn't it? Legal? Yes. Respectable? Most would still say no. So household name security megs consider it too high risk as to be seen in the company of workers. It doesn't help that their average board member is easily pushing 60 years old. You aren't that far from pushing 60 yourself, are you? Matter of opinion. Besides, I'm a very modern, forward-thinking man. Did you finish those 50 rosaries already? Right. In the Icaria, they don't, compete in that market? No. People of the Icaria's heights might patronize a courtesan or two in the Cloud District, but they'd never lowered themselves to work alongside one. Hypocrites. That much I understand perfectly. The hypocrisy is the appeal for them. The rules don't apply to me. You couldn't ask for a more pure expression of power. Damn. Worse than I remember. Like a demon tore through the place. Seriously. What the hell happened here? That's what we all get paid to find out, right? Yeah. I've definitely got a head start on the rest of you, though. Shall we bring up the arcs? Sure, I'll patch you in. Allow me. If you're needed on the phone, Miss Han, please don't let me keep you here. Nonsense. I got all the time in the world for you. Everyone's treating me like royalty today. Took the words right out of my mouth. Where shall we start? How about with tall, dark, and mysterious in the middle here? That's your client. He was found standing over Chopin's body by the arresting officer. Rogers, right? And then he knocked Sosuke out. Correct. So why is it this artistic rendition of Sosuke and not a capture from Rogers' body cam? Well, it seems like at the time, their body cam was off? Seriously? Hey, I'd chew him out myself if he was here with us. It's department policy to have all sensors green when responding to an emergency. Did all this not qualify as an emergency then? Chopin and Rogers were responding to shots fired. That's not uncommon in this part of town. For two inexperienced officers first on the scene, it might not have come to mind. At least Chopin could use that excuse. Rest in peace. But apparently Rogers requests replacement body cams nearly every week. Okay, if he's that big of a klutz, take away his gun once the city's done throwing him a parade. I'll, put in a request. Right then, who's next? This screen, I turned it on to distract Tanks long enough to grab his gun, and I remember choosing not to turn it back off. Interesting setup. Powerful setup was blaring when we arrived. The sound system, I mean. One of the CS stacked as a real audio file. Said it broke her heart how loud they must have blared the speakers all the time. Wears it out, she said. I wouldn't count on Orcus to value the longevity of their tech purchases. Blood loss from the neck, even I can tell that much. Stabbed with a bladed weapon right near the carotid artery. Very efficient. Not the kind of kill someone could make without prior experience. My client's a humble bodyguard. Come on now, I know you've got a job to do, but you'll shame him if you don't let him take credit for this one. Miller was no joke in a fight. To take him out with the one clean stab to the neck using this precious signature katana? The hound must be itching to brag about it. I'll defer to the medical examiner on this matter, thank you very much. What do you mean? Sato said the same thing. Katana to the neck, and not so many words. Is Miller's blood even on the katana? Even if it is, how would a medical examiner assume the katana was used here when my knife is a much better fit for him? My knife. Where is it? Where? I gave Sosuke the knife before I left. It shouldn't have been on him when he was arrested. It should be somewhere in the arcs. You looking for something, Tiger? They haven't found the knife, and I asked about it anyway. That doesn't mean admitting that I know it's missing. If I tell them that Sosuke mentioned a knife that only the killer would know about, I'd be ruining my case before you even enter the courtroom. Or worse, pointing the police in the direction of the knife's real origin. No, I just... Was anything found on my client's person when he was arrested? Besides a gun, a sword, and a bunch of blood that did and didn't belong to him? No, not even any lint in his pockets. Why do you ask? No reason. Sometimes you gotta shake the tree to see what falls out. Or so they say. Oh, so you were blindly guessing. I've been there. Something must have happened to that knife. It couldn't have just disappeared, not from a crime scene locked down like this. I'll need to find it, but I can't just go looking for it. Is this what it feels like to play with a handicap? I'd advise you to brace yourself before opening the autopsy photos for this one, Counselor. Yes, this is sufficiently obfuscated. A lot to take in. The skull is crushed? Yes, but the cause of death was blood loss from a laceration across the neck. He hit the floor and bled out in seconds. Everything else you're seeing there is post-mortem. Overkill. Not the word I'd use for this kind of shit. Oh, calm down, I didn't do it for the fun of it. In this specific instance, this victim had modded eyes. Seems to me like someone just didn't want to take any chances. Bullshit. No one in the lower wards could get optic mods with recording functionality. You wouldn't be welcome anywhere. You're gonna claim the Hound of Icaria didn't know something that fundamental? Nah, he bashed his brains in it for the fun of it. I'm sure to a law-abiding citizen like yourself, we're all scum of the earth who deserve... I'm pretty scummy myself, hon. Defense attorney, remember? Who the hell deserves shit like this? Deserves? What does that have to do with anything? I take it that this badge is what did the deed. Matches the splinters found inside his wounds if you had any doubts. There's nothing here about Sosuke's fingerprints. You think we could get anything that partials off of that? It's practically splinters. Makes sense. I was the one who actually swung it down, and I was wearing gloves by then. Whoever did this, they were damn enthusiastic. You know how hard they'd have to swing to crush a skull, to break the bat itself? I can't imagine. There's some faint blood that's been smeared here. Did it belong to this victim? And Sosuke. I wonder if maybe the bodies hadn't gotten moved around for some reason, but... Your client's legs and feet were soaked in others' blood when he was arrested. and you would have had to sneak up on Chopin in order to stab him in the back. You think he slid his feet across the ground to avoid making noise? Does he say otherwise? I'll let you keep guessing on that one. Windows open to the fire escape in the alley below. There's a thin misting of blood across them. Got a good guess as to who it belongs to. This is where we found Creek, leader of the pod. Ballistics tells us the shooter was sitting in front of the desk. Near where my client was found. Your words, not mine. A nasty slug burst in his chest, blew blood back onto the windows behind him. The open windows. Hell of a spread. Yes, it is. Did someone open these, or...? No, they were open when we secured the scene. Any fingerprints? Plenty on the handles there from Creek and his pod. That's where the handles are? Something wrong? Definitely. But how the hell could I explain why I know that? No, sorry, I guess I'm wondering about the keys around his neck and the arcs. Oh, well, one was a master key, could unlock any other door in the building. The other key we eventually paired to a small safe in his desk. Empty, though. Suppose that's all irrelevant, since he apparently died with the keys on his person. Yeah, they caught my eye too, to be honest, but not every detective instinct pans out. So who was this guy? Curious? Only professionally. I don't care what he was before I killed him. Criminal record dating as far back as it goes, till when he turned 18. What makes you so sure he has a juvenile record, then? The more experience these guys get, the more time in between their arrests. Matter I'm saying, he was pretty damn experienced by the time he was of age. You trying to compliment him? I wasn't trying to insult him, huh? Anything you'd like to add? Nah, nothing I want to say in front of you two. If you want to say a few words, the detective and I could step. Only words I have are for his killer. I'll deliver them in person, or not at all. Fair enough. Do you have any idea why someone might want to hurt this Creek fellow? That's not funny. The dog you're defending. It's a fair question, huh? Give it fair consideration. Besides the Icaria, the Rust, or our city's finest? No. Creek was charismatic and driven. Plus he made us a lot of money. No true blue would ever want him gone. The bloodthirsty Icaria soldier he was interrogating, however, probably wasn't a huge fan. What about family? That's getting old fast. Younger brother's listed as next of kin. Leave his brother out of this. Hell, leave me out of this. Rooting through a person like you're picking at zits. Well, seems he's out of town anyway. Taking summer lessons at Halmarine or U. That's a good school. An expensive school. Younger brother has no listed occupation. Also no priors and no juvenile record. TAD at his age? Poor kid. Bills for that cost an arm and a leg. Creek must have been sending him... Detective. Did you just leak the confidential medical data of a non-suspect to a third party? Hey, you don't have to report. How about I buy you an ice cream or something? Bribery, too? You're digging yourself pretty deep. Is it still bribery if I'm the government official? Creek's fine wood desk. He seemed particular about it. Maybe in no small part because it had a priceless no-mask hidden inside it, but... I assume you've been through this datapad here? Front and back, but we didn't find anything we didn't already know. It seems like Creek was smart enough to use it for payments and nothing else. How'd he manage that? Even gangsters need spreadsheets. Hence the paperwork you see scattered about. They really did everything by hand? PPP is what they call it over in organized crime. Paper and pencil protocol. Helps the orcas keep their books off the books. Or at least in a form that's easier to destroy, should push come to shove. Did you run checks on this credit card that's jammed in here? Ah, not surprised you don't recognize it. That there's a dark card. Wow, tell me more. Wow, tell me more! It's an untraceable wallet in the palm of your hand. I would hope any wallet could fit in the palm of your hand, Detective. But you really can't find the owner? Can't trace any of its transactions? Most we can tell is that the datapad registered calls to dark card networks around 9:40 p.m., but it timed out. What does that mean? The transfer didn't go through. Either someone got cold feet or they forgot their password. Happens to the best of us. By the way, why has this cloth been flagged? Not sure. Forensics didn't find any blood on it. Who flagged it? Lady Rockford herself. Could be that she fat-thumbed it. Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. Papers scattered all over his desk. Suppose I'm partially to blame. I didn't exactly memorize his setup before I started searching for the mask. What's this? What did you find there? A note? Looks like Creek's handwriting from the other files I've seen. M. Icaria. Looks like M. Icaria, actually. He's dead, London. I was gonna let the spelling mistake slide. Right, sorry. But that's gotta be Makoto, right? You know Makoto? I know he's the Icaria's heir apparent. From what I hear, he's an appropriately frightening young scion. He's really quite something. But why would his name be on Creek's desk? He was Creek's real target the other day. Sosuke was some kind of consolation prize. Bagging the Hound was a consolation prize? These punks had their sights set high. Yeah, like no one taught them not to stare at the sun. The big one. He made a strange face when I shot him and a loud slam when he hit the floor. This one, real long rap sheet, with a short ending. Buckshot to the torso, died instantly. Flex were on his mods, but his time was death at 9:44 p.m. Killed by his own weapon. Comes up a bit short of poetic justice, but it doesn't look like he was in any kind of a struggle for it beforehand. But how'd someone manage to get it off his hands? It wasn't any great feat, I assure you. Tex identified it as a double-barreled Mag US, and... Hey, how did you know the gun was his? He's still wearing the holster in the arcs. Was I mistaken? No, about a week ago, Tanks here was stopped and frisked by a patrol unit, and they found this here gun on him. They found this gun on him, and they just handed it back to him? He bought and paid for it above board. So this gun isn't jailbroken? You have tag data from the murders? No, we don't. Strange. According to the text, the gun is jailbroken. What happened between last week and last night that he get the tags stripped off? Something that made him think this piece would see action soon. Who the hell are you, really? Why are you lying there dead right in the middle of my crime scene? That was Tariq Chopin, as you might guess, a patrol officer and the son of two loving fathers, who've strongly emphasized to the chief of police their desire to see justice done. Reyes wasn't exaggerating about how he died. Run through from behind with a sword. So he would have been standing in front of the desk, then he was impaled, then he collapsed to the floor face first, and the sword got stuck in the ground. Bad luck for the attacker, I suppose. Yeah, Dr. Sawtoes noted that in a report that the stab wound was, in her words, jostled. Pardon? Like the attacker tried to pull it out, but it was stuck, so they had to jiggle it around. Hey, that's probably what saved Rogers' life. Kept your client distracted and disarmed long enough to give Rogers time to rush in. Allegedly. Not where I left you, that's for sure. And according to Sosuke, the one thing he does recall after I passed the baton to him is gripping a sword. You're not giving me much to work with. Fingerprints on the grip match your client's right hand, by the way. Here I was getting my hopes up. And it definitely wasn't suicide, because no one else's prints are on the damn thing. I ruled out suicide once I saw he was stabbed in the back, thank you. There are papers scattered underneath his body. Did I knock them off the desk at some point? Maybe when the tall one hit the ground? Or maybe when I was swinging that bat down on. Hang on. What kind of paper is this? I can't read a word. Really, you should get that looked at. My vision's 2020. What am I looking at, Miss Site Manager? Those docs are internal business, man. Nothing to worry your pretty little head over. How do you know they're internal business if we can't read them? You've really never seen Redding before. Never heard of it. It's the Corporate Information Security Protocol. Files with special flags trigger specific print commands if you try to make physical copies. Makes it use some kind of special ink. Try to take a photo of it and it comes out a bright blur. Paper's special too. Too much heat, humidity, becomes illegible. Of course, bleeding out on top of you is a lot of heat and humidity. So these documents contain confidential data that the Blue Bloods wouldn't want getting out. What do they say in the movies? I can't confirm nor deny that. And if I subpoenaed the data? Do your worst. You've got lawyers too. And unlike your client, they've got all the time in the world to stall. Besides, you and I both know exactly what the Hound's motive was. And it isn't written in those pages, it's written all over his busted up face. Sure, but you won't mind if I copy down whatever I can anyway, right? I wouldn't have any legal reason to stop you, if that's what you're getting at. Okay, looks like that's everything in here. Well, I don't envy either of your workloads. It's a mess in here. It's a lot of blood, that's for sure. I'm impressed you haven't gotten nauseous, Miss. I'd be right at home here if you all weren't poking your noses around. Shoot, I just remembered. I'll never hear the end of it if I don't check in with my partner after saying I would. You too good to keep going if I step out to make a call? A call? Is your partner your mom? And is your mom blind? Send a text. Thanks for your understanding. Maybe he was the one with the weak stomach. You be sure to let me know if you're feeling faint. I can keep going. We're nearly finished anyway. I'd stick to the arcs if I were you. Nothing behind that door that's better seen in person. You've been such a gracious host up to this point, Miss Hahn. Why the cold feet now? It's ugly in there. Uglier than this? Different kind of ugly, then. It's all in the eye of the beholder. I warned you. Don't worry, I can stomach it just fine. So long as I can understand it. Why did Creek's pod torture my client? I don't know that they did. Sosie told me they electrocuted him, huh? They probably just grounded him. Low-grade currents applied every few minutes stops most mods from rebooting. So no SOS pings, no adrenaline bursts pulled out of his ass. And the pliers, hammers, and syringes. What purpose did they serve? They could have just killed Sosuke when they fell to Namakoto. Instead, they dragged him down here. Why? To try and get info on Makoto's itinerary? Get enough intel to make another run at him? If there are any answers for me in here, I'll need a grout scraper to find them. It's water. Cold enough that condensation's on the outside of the bucket. Is that water for sponge baths? Just a simple way to keep a guest from dozing off. Temperature shock makes caffeine look like a sleep aid. What's coming after you claim you don't know if Sosuke was tortured? You know what that other bucket's for, then? I know you said you've got a weak sense of smell, but do you really need a hint here? But then this last bucket here is... What is that? Trash? Cloth and rope. Bindings. Or bandages. See, they were nursing him back to health. I'll run your theory past Sosuke next chance I get. This must be what's left of what they were keeping Sosuke tied up with. They would have had to use something, yeah. This door doesn't even lock. Not after I moved the bat barring it from the outside. So he was brought here, tied up, questioned. Then he breaks out, bursts into the next room, cuts up two of his captors, and blows the other two away. That's what you think happened? That's what it looks like. And then what? Chopin runs in and turns his back on a violent criminal? Don't strain yourself trying to make it sound improbable. Cops are dumb. If the Hound crouched in a corner, he'd have his chance soon enough. Hell, he probably just played dead. Walking into that scene out there, you think some patrol officer would go around checking pulses? Why would my client go to all that trouble to get the jump on an officer? Why not just run away? Hell, why not ask him for medical treatment? Because he was standing in the middle of the 4 men he just killed? I know that Sosuke had no logical reason to attack Chopin, but so what? Even Sosuke himself says he would have been acting on instinct. Would instinct tell him that Chopin was in between him and his escape? Has all this blood been tested, Miss Han? Enough of it has. Besides Sosuke, who else would it belong to? That's a bit lazy, but it's not as if there's more here than the last time I visited. Sosuke really did lose a lot of blood. By the time he stumbled out of here, a stiff breeze should have been enough to knock him over. Is he really such a badass that he still managed to take out a police officer before he'd even noticed? It's not as if I feel nothing looking at someone else's handiwork, the product of their violence. But it's like an artificial sweetener. No complaints for that first instant. Then the aftertaste comes. Empty calories. I'll just be hungrier again, later, faster. Best to stay disciplined. Hypodermic needles. Probably not packing anything healthy. Sosuke better hope they were at least sanitized. I'm not sure Sarah can treat an infection with gauze and rubbing alcohol alone. But those needles there... The design of these needles seems a little odd. Well, someone will tell you sooner or later, so... They're projectiles. Load them into a gun and fire away. Sosuke was captured by men wielding needle guns. Does Science Security have any peacekeeping tools they'd like to disclose of having recently gone missing? You're cursing up the wrong pipe. Creek could find tools all on his own, and we're not that kind of operation. An operation where the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing? More like the right hand's just been washed, so if you have to handle some garbage. Science is that legitimate. Why aren't all the Blue Bloods working legal jobs, then? Not enough positions available. You gotta earn like hell to be considered for a job on this side of the fence. Creek and his pod weren't bringing in that kind of money. They liked Creek's pod where it was. Who's they? Upper management. That mask is a death sentence, crafted specifically for one very special customer. I'm just the one giving the honor of hanging on to it until... And did upper management like Creek? I'm just a humble site manager, miss. I wouldn't know. Sure. So do all these needles contain anesthetics? No. There are also stimulants and barbitazine. Like the truth serum? You can get sued for selling it as such. It makes you talk. It doesn't make what you say the truth. So they wanted Sosuke talking. What did they ask him? If your client can't remember or isn't willing to recall, there's really no one else alive who would know, yeah. I'm getting a headache, but it's not from anything sensory. I should know more about this crime scene than anyone. Why can't I piece it together? If I can't piece it together, the cops won't trace any of this back to me, right? So why do I feel so ill at ease? Okay, thanks for your patience, ladies. Did I miss anything? Nah. Oh. Would you have felt better if you had? I'm going to head out now, actually. I've got a long day tomorrow. You're going back by yourself, then? Are you sure? I could get you a ride out of the neighborhood. I'm sure Miss Han here has already made sure that we'll both get out of here without any trouble. That is her company's areas of expertise, isn't it? Of course. Well, at least let me walk you out. Sure, why not? Safe travels. So, Detective, there's something you didn't want to talk about in front of the professionals at Science Security? Thanks for picking up on that. Reyes will be upset that you never checked in. Yeah, right after this I will. This room. Are we directly underneath the crime scene? Yep. Same fire escape right there. Same type of window, too. Has this room been scanned to the arcs? Yeah, but no one found anything noteworthy. Except sign as being sloppy. So what were you actually doing when you left Han and I back there? Something Han said earlier about how no true blue would wish harm on Creek. Her phrasing stood out to me. Because it implies the existence of false blue bloods? Because it reminded me of one of the first things I learned in this city. There are no monoliths. Megs, Orcas, City Hall, there are always factions. And among the Blue Bloods, the party lines are especially visible. So I made a call, not to Reyes, and confirmed some things. And I figure I owe you a little hint or two, considering the tone of the last message I delivered. That message warned me not to broaden the scope of my investigation. Getting hints from you might be self-defeating. Not these hints, trust me. So what faction did our pal Creek belong to? The Youngbloods, opposite end of the compass from the old guard, the conservative blue blood leadership. All of them older than 70, some of them pushing higher than 90. Hans said Creek was too useful for anyone to want dead, but my sources don't agree. Creek talked, said things aloud that others only whispered. Ambitious, charismatic, up-and-coming, and young. Could easily see him being very unpopular with all the wrong people in the old guard. That's interesting info, Detective, but it doesn't exactly flip this case on its head. I already know who killed Creek. The police have already decided it's Sosuke. Learning that he had some occupational hazards will hardly convince the jury otherwise. My client's the one standing accused, and everyone already knows why Blue Bloods and Ikarias want to kill each other. Do you? They're rival gangs. They hate each other. Do you know why? It's the same reason all the Blue Blood leadership is ancient, while all their muscles made up of orphans and delinquents. 30 years ago, the Ikaria betrayed their peace with the Blue Bloods, started killing them. And they didn't stop for days. By the end of it, every single member of the leading Blue Blood families under the age of 40 was dead. Wow. I can see how their kids would grow up to hate the Ikaria, yeah. You're not getting it, Tiger. Their kids didn't grow up at all. If that's the case, how are the Blue Bloods still around? For one thing, the Ikaria had bigger fish to fry. This was right before the Red Decade. They spent every second of the next 10 years positioning themselves so they could come out the other end as neo-ability. Second, one remainder of the Blue Bloods found a new niche to fill, taking in delinquents furious at a country driven off a cliff by adults before they could even get a chance to vote. Blue Bloods swelled their ranks to new heights by looking out for the little guys during those years, in exchange for favors down the line. Lastly, and most importantly, they survived because they still had hope. You serious? I am. It's a powerful weapon. Hope for what? Hope the Ikaria had missed one, that they'd fled the country. Hope that a promised heir would go strong and return one day. A triumphant little lord with overflowing riches and overwhelming power. Sounds like a fairy tale. Those endure for a reason. Well, now you know. A warning to watch where you step isn't exactly worth much if you're fumbling around in the dark. Fairy tales and warnings. What's up? Hey, you ever pay attention to any of this graffiti down here? Scrawlings about Lobo and the cyberpunk and HBK, increasingly. I haven't seen that myself. I was gonna say Red Hood. Why are you asking? You feel a chill down your spine? Bah. Except for HBK, that's all old news. Ghost stories and campfire tales. There are a lot of campsites around here? Lots of places to start fires. But Red Hood, haven't heard that in who knows how long. It's one of the oldest. Rough story. It's based on a real event. Nothing worth recounting. I'll take your word for it. Hey, did you or your pals in OC ever hear about some kind of blue blood hunter? Like a bounty hunter? Or huntsman, maybe? Where'd you hear that? Sosuke thinks he might have overheard talk of something like that while he was in captivity. Does it mean anything? Nope. I don't like the hesitation there, Detective. Just an urban legend. I would have said the same thing about unlisted before this afternoon, and yet... Fair enough. If you see a huntsman live to tell the tale, I'll buy you as many lotto tickets as you want. Well, what's gotten into you that you're feeling all superstitious? Guilty conscience? You mean about working with the Mafia? A psychologist would call that projecting. Ouch. Too far? Nah. Didn't feel a thing. I don't know why I asked, really. Guess I've just had an odd feeling all day. Like a deja vu. You've been here before? No, I hate that feeling. It's whatever the opposite of that would be. The unnerving certainty that you're in uncharted waters. Scary stuff. Ikaria, Blue Blood, Megs, Orcas, dirty cops, and criminal informants. lines drawn back and forth across the battlefield like a spider's suspension bridge. Dizzying in its complexity, frail along any given strand, but one wrong move and you're completely ensnared. Priorities. The Ikari don't care about who tore through Creek's gang, but they would prefer Sosuke doesn't spend life in prison for killing a cop. The Blue Bloods want to tear Sosuke's throat out, but if Han's taken at her word, they're settling for 5 counts of murder. Can I take Han at her word? Is she a young blood like Creek, or is she with the old guard? Could I have asked London that? If I had, could I have trusted his answer? Because it turns out Kwasim London is much, much harder to read than I anticipated. And I can't even trust my client to act in his own self-interest. The man's a bodyguard by trade and a zealot for his house. The trial starts tomorrow. Do I still need more information? Is there time to find it? No, what I need right now is a nightcap. If I can't fall asleep, then I'll know I'm in trouble. Until then, guess sleep will have to wait. It's unlocked. Pardon me for dropping in at such a late hour, Counselor Morgan. Standing there in my doorway, she cut through the light like a blade of spilt ink. But twice as sharp and not nearly as familiar. It is outside of normal consultation hours, miss. She purses her lips, like lily petals shying away from the moonlight. What's a smirk by any other name? Please, call me Mireille. Any last name, Mireille? The question floats in the air like curling cigarette smoke. I could tell she was used to the smell. I'll leave that up to your imagination. Self-assured and unapologetic, the unspoken family name loud as a signature, written in blood. You're from House Icaria. Might I step inside? She blinks. Her head turns a millimeter. A forked tongue testing the temperature of the air. She wasn't asking for permission. Just you? What about your friends in the hallway? She raises an eyebrow, but keeps staring at the floor. She's surprised at my perception of the unseen threat, but not quite impressed. I don't think they need to join us, do you? She was the kind of woman to make you remember. Smoking could kill. How can I be of service, Mireille? You're already being quite accommodating, both to me and my family's interests. I came here tonight to be of service to you. I understand that you're somewhat new to this underworld of ours. I'm grateful for the offer, Mireille. But inexperienced as I am, I've gathered that House Icaria didn't come into its fortune by being generous. Would you like to know how House Icaria did come into its fortune? I know you operate a lending corporation with a significantly diversified portfolio. Yes, the good old IFG, the public face of the Icaria criminal empire, clean-shaven as it's become. And I know you founded a pharmaceutical company and profited immensely when it went public. And before that, I know your family became nobility during the years of civil unrest. No doubt by being well positioned when the time came to reprivatize our nation's industries. Yes. And before that, I know you slaughtered the Blue Bloods 30 years ago. Very good, Counselor Morgan. You've acclimated to our waters remarkably fast. What I don't know is why Makoto Ikaria has been the target of multiple kidnapping attempts over the past year. You can't fathom a guess as to why the Blue Bloods might want to ransom the family's heir. That's the only guess I can make. It strikes me as shallow. Nothing more dangerous than waters you don't know the depth of. As you said, 30 years ago, the Ikaria cartel, an unrecognizable band of brutes and drug smugglers compared to today, massacred the respectable blue bloods and left their geriatric leadership to die on the vine. But we thrust the knife much deeper than that. You went after their heirs, and their entire future. Are you familiar with genetic factor authentication? Using DNA as a password? Blood, specifically. Easier than memorizing a string of 3 billion characters long. But GFA's fallen out of favor, hasn't it? The Blue Bloods made ample use of it back then. A bad bet. They already had all their offshore accounts, business titles, property deeds. The Blue Bloods thought they had already won, that they were establishing a dynasty. So as they made their political marriages, they bound their alliances and fortunes in literal blood. GFA was both a financial and symbolic laundering of the Blue Bloods' past. Their children, now married, clean-cut, and perfectly respectable, would prosper alongside wealth no longer tainted by ill-gotten gains. So that GFA registry became the Ikaria's checklist. We went through and crossed out anyone that could have accessed those funds. Now all of it sits untouchable overseas in unencrypted digital warehouses in some of the oldest, most austere banks in the world, collecting interest that will never be claimed. Does that answer your question as to why they target Makoto? No, and you know it doesn't. Because if they thought they could lock you out of your coffers by killing Makoto, they wouldn't be trying to take him alive. You're paying attention. I like that. We don't use GFA, and Makoto is the heir to House Ikaria, to the Ikaria Financial Group. He'd never be tied to our legitimate banking information. Why not? What if he wants to buy a lollipop? A lollipop would be provided for him. The family's black market proceeds and his white market holdings must never mix. You divided your house right down the middle? Pardon the expression, but how can you stand atop the backs of many? And you all take this division that seriously? Deadly seriously. That is our family's rule, dating back centuries. Either you serve the house, or you serve its interests. Never both. So you're assigned to either the criminal organization, what's registered as the IFG, or to managing the family's legitimate business holdings, like Renegade. But that means you are nearly as much as an outsider to the Ikaria Financial Group as you are. Nearly is doing a lot of work there. Who do you answer to then? Who controls the Ikaria's legitimate empire? Until Makoto marries his mother. And I take it Makoto isn't solely responsible for the house's affairs at his age? Makoto wields great authority as the heir, but yes, the house is led by his father Raphael, and more directly by his grandfather, our patriarch Daisuke Ikaria. I see. But that puts me back where I started. The Blue Bloods want to hold Makoto hostage to gain leverage on the likes of Daisuke. How can I put this? Had things gone even slightly different 30 years ago, the Blue Bloods would be the ones shaking hands with politicians, marrying ambassadors, and sitting in boardrooms. Some of them believe it still can be so, if the right match were made. They want to marry into House Ikaria? The Makotos, not the real Blue Bloods, are older than... They'd find an age-appropriate adoption. You're missing the point. They need Makoto alive and well to negotiate that kind of reversal of fortune. So they've been trying to capture him for the past year. But every Blue Blood I met today seemed to care a lot more about getting revenge for their dead men than kidnapping a preteen. How many of them do you think Sosuke's cut down in the past year he spent repelling their attempts? Is that a source of internal conflict? If the old guard are throwing young bloods into an Ikaria shredder en masse, trying to capture Makoto just to elevate themselves. I suppose that all might total up to enough motivation for them to torture Sosuke, yeah. I had heard Sosuke was wounded. No one informed me that he had been tortured. You know him, I take it? As you've gathered, Sosuke deals in matters unrelated to my side of the family. But he is still family. Speaking of my side, I have a duty as a representative of my wing of the house to stress that we do not want this trial to be prolonged. So the bean counters don't care for the extra attention. That makes sense. Do you care about the outcome? A win is always preferable, but not a necessity. Makoto Ikaria hired me to prove Sosuke's innocence. If he's the one signing the checks, did he say why he hired you? He hired you for 2 reasons. Reason 1, his options are limited. More limited than he suggested, no doubt, to keep a strong front. The entire house is currently being audited by the state. Our usual legion of lawyers and accountants are already billing hours as fast as they can, so he wouldn't have his pick of the litter. So one half of the family can't talk business at the dinner table, the other half, but you all share a pool of lawyers. Lawyers can be trusted to be discreet, can they not? Yeah, we can read between the lines. So then you'll understand reason 2. Whatever lawyer he did find through the Ikari's usual connections would, like me, do whatever's best for the house as a whole. And not what's best for Sosuke. I'll make an amendment. 3 reasons. Makoto knew that if he didn't assign him any lawyer, Sosuke would just stay silent as the state dragged him off to be chained, rather than inconvenience the house any further. Well, yeah. I've known Sosuke for less than a day, and even I can tell he's never seen a cross he wouldn't jump at the opportunity to bear. That explains why Makoto would hire someone without connections to the Ikaria. You slow-rolling another addendum that'll clear up why on earth my name came across his desk? Littered with crayons and times tables, as I'm sure it was. I hope I've been able to elucidate matters for you, Counselor Morgan. Masterfully subtle way to say we're done talking. Now I might ask you a small favor in return. Pass this message along to Sosuke. If you see a way out, take it. Do you understand what you're asking him to do? Even if Sosuke took a plea bargain, even if I somehow got the other charge reduced to manslaughter, self-defense, the state thinks he killed a cop. The message is for Sosuke, not you. Your interpretation of it is irrelevant. End of conversation. As she reaches the exit, she turns back to look at me, lingering in the doorway like the warm buzz of a strong, dark cocktail. But your assessment is correct. If this were just 4 dead blue bloods, our dim little underworld could balance out the ledger unassisted. If that cop hadn't shown up last night. Do you know something about the late Officer Chopin? City in mourning after death of City Councilman's beloved adopted son in line of duty. All I know is that his funeral dirge will make those 4 boys' deaths sound like a disinterested sigh. By the way, I must admit you have a lovely apartment, Counselor. Changing subjects as subtly as a bullet train hopping its tracks. Quite spacious for a defense attorney. Yeah, place wouldn't sell after the tram route got diverted. I negotiated down the rent and then sold all the soundproofing myself. Can't open the windows without being treated to the sounds of the city then. There's always a cost. That's one mystery solved then, isn't it? Enjoy the rest of your quiet evening, Counselor. The door glides to a close behind her, easy as a question left unasked. I'm left here hanging on a single held breath of stillness, listening as the deafened thud of her honor guard's implied violence stops down the hallway behind her. I was still leaned back in my chair, staring holes into my ceiling long after the scent of her expensive tobacco had faded into null. Savoring it while it lasted was beyond me at the moment, my attentions elsewhere. This case is knotted and twisted like a gnarled oak, just when I think I've found my rhythm. The blade runs dull. Carving is an exercise in patience and vision. You need to start with a clear picture of what you want. I want some answers. But for now, I'll sleep. Tomorrow in court, I'll just have to keep whittling away at the wood until I fashion something halfway usable. And well, if that doesn't work, I'll use a chainsaw. Hey, cool kid. Yes, you, trying to look all stoic staring out the window. A little late to try and look detached after that thing you pulled the other day. So that wasn't a joke, making that announcement in front of the class? You trying to start a detective club or something? What mysteries? Disappearing cleaning supplies? Books not getting returned to the library? Sounds lame. Well, not like that's your fault, everything is lame. Good luck finding members. Everyone around here already knows what they're going to do after school. And tomorrow, and next year. They're all staring down the barrel of a lucrative career and telling other companies how to provide web services or whatever the hell this school is supposed to train us for. A lawyer? You say so, cool kid. The Megs will probably have robots doing that by the time you graduate, but sure. Law school is supposed to be hard to get into. You'll need a record that doesn't suck. Getting the club you started shut down because you couldn't get anyone to join probably won't help. Wow, so confident. You really are a cool kid.